There is a version of you that you have never fully met, a version that doesn't constantly second guess every decision, a version that can walk into a room without wondering who is judging them, a version that can hear no without falling apart, a version that can be rejected without questioning their worth, a version that can stand alone without feeling lonely, and most importantly, a version that no longer needs permission to become who they were born to be. That version of you is not fictional, it is already inside you. But somewhere along the way, you learn to doubt yourself. Maybe someone told you that you weren't good enough. Maybe you failed at something you desperately wanted to succeed at. Maybe you were laughed at when you tried to express yourself. Maybe you were rejected. Maybe you spent years comparing yourself to people who seem more successful, more attractive, more intelligent, more confident, or more accomplished than you. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you began shrinking. You started thinking before you spoke. You started questioning your decisions. You started seeking approval. You started worrying about what people would say. You started waiting until you felt confident before taking action. And that is where the trap begins. Because confidence rarely comes before action. Confidence is usually created by action. You don't become confident and then start doing difficult things. You do difficult things, and eventually you become confident. So if you've been waiting for the fear to disappear before you move, this audiobook is going to challenge everything you believe about confidence. Because the goal isn't to become the loudest person in the room. It isn't about dominating conversations. It isn't about pretending you're better than everyone else. And it certainly isn't about becoming arrogant. Real confidence is much quieter than that. Real confidence is being able to say, I don't know, without feeling stupid. It's being able to say, I was wrong, without feeling worthless. It's being able to say no, without writing an entire explanation to justify yourself. It's walking away from situations that destroy your peace. It's pursuing your goals even when nobody is clapping for you. It's being rejected and still believing you are valuable. It's failing and deciding to try again. It's looking at your weaknesses honestly without allowing them to define you. And perhaps most importantly, real confidence is trusting yourself. That is what we're going to build. Not temporary motivation, not fake bravado, not a personality you have to perform for other people. We're going to build something deeper. A confidence that comes from knowing yourself, keeping promises to yourself, developing your abilities, facing your fears, surviving rejection, setting boundaries, taking responsibility, and repeatedly proving to yourself that you can handle life. Because here's a truth most people never learn. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to become someone who believes in themselves enough to keep moving when nobody else does. Imagine what would change if you stopped asking, what will they think? Imagine what would happen if you stopped waiting for everyone to approve of your decisions. Imagine if rejection no longer made you feel like a failure. Imagine if you could enter unfamiliar rooms, meet unfamiliar people, attempt unfamiliar things, and still remain completely grounded in who you are. Imagine waking up one day and realizing, I don't need to prove myself anymore. That is dangerous confidence, not because you become dangerous to other people, but because you become dangerous to the limitations that once controlled you. Fear loses its grip. Rejection loses its power. Other people's opinions lose their authority. And the excuses you've been hiding behind begin to disappear. But there is a price, because becoming confident requires you to confront the version of yourself that has been comfortable with staying small. You will have to stop blaming circumstances. You will have to stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You will have to stop making comfort your highest priority. You will have to do things before you feel ready. You will have to disappoint people sometimes. You will have to hear no. You will have to fail. You will have to stand alone. And you will have to keep going. Because confidence isn't built in moments when everything goes your way. Confidence is built when life doesn't go your way, and you discover that you can still handle it. So as you listen to this audiobook, don't simply listen for motivation. Listen for confrontation. Listen for the beliefs that need to change. Listen for the habits that need to disappear. And most importantly, listen for the person you could become if you finally stop treating yourself like someone who needs permission. You have spent enough time questioning whether you are capable. You have spent enough time waiting. You have spent enough time shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. Now it's time to build a different version of you, a calmer version, a stronger version, a more disciplined version, a more self-assured version, a version that doesn't collapse under criticism, a version that doesn't beg for validation, a version that doesn't run from discomfort, a version that knows its value, and a version that walks through life with one powerful belief: whatever happens, I can handle it. That is where dangerous confidence begins, and your transformation starts now. Chapter 1. The moment you stop doubting yourself. There comes a moment in every person's life when they have to make a decision. Not a decision about a job, not a decision about a relationship, not a decision about where to live or what career to pursue. A deeper decision, a decision about who they are going to believe. Are you going to believe the voice that tells you that you're not ready? Are you going to believe the memories of your failures? Are you going to believe the people who underestimated you? Are you going to believe the person who rejected you? Or are you finally going to believe that you are capable of becoming more than you are today? Because confidence begins right there, with a decision. Most people think confidence is something you discover. They imagine that one day they will wake up and suddenly feel powerful, fearless, and completely certain about themselves. But that's rarely how confidence works. Confidence is not a magical feeling that arrives before you take action. Confidence is often the result of taking action while you are still afraid. Think about the first time you did something difficult. Maybe you gave a presentation. Maybe you started a business. Maybe you walked into an unfamiliar room. Maybe you spoke to someone you were attracted to. Maybe you applied for a position you thought was beyond your reach. Before you did it, your mind probably gave you dozens of reasons why you might fail. But after you did it, something changed. You discovered something. You discovered that the thing you were afraid of wasn't as powerful as you imagined. And even if you failed, you discovered something even more important. You survived. That experience becomes evidence, and evidence creates confidence. This is why you cannot think your way into becoming confident. At some point, you have to move. You have to act. You have to make the decision. I may not feel ready, but I'm going anyway. That sentence can change your life, because self-doubt feeds on hesitation. The longer you wait, the more convincing your fears become. You think about the decision, then you think about what could go wrong. Then you imagine what people might say. Then you compare yourself to someone who is already ahead of you. Then you convince yourself that you need more time, more knowledge, more money, more experience, more confidence. And eventually the opportunity disappears. Not because you weren't capable, but because you were waiting to feel capable. That's the trap. You don't need to eliminate doubt before you act. You need to learn how to act despite doubt. Confident people aren't necessarily people who never question themselves. They simply refuse to let every question become a reason to stop. They can hear the voice saying, "What if you fail?" and respond, "Then I'll learn." What if they laugh at you? "I'll survive." What if they reject you? "I'll move forward." What if you make a mistake? "I'll correct it." What if you're not good enough? "I'll become better." That is confidence, not the absence of uncertainty, the ability to move through uncertainty. And here's something you need to understand. Self-doubt becomes stronger when you repeatedly obey it. Every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and then don't, you teach your brain that your own words don't mean much. You say, "Tomorrow I'll start." Tomorrow comes. You don't start. You say, "This time I'll speak up." The moment arrives, you stay silent. You say, "I'm going to apply." You never send the application. You say, "I'm going to change my life." But you continue repeating the same habits. Eventually, something happens beneath the surface. You stop trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, confidence becomes almost impossible. This is why confidence isn't only about positive thinking. It's about self-trust. You need to become a person whose own promises mean something. If you tell yourself you're going to wake up early, wake up. If you decide you're going to exercise, exercise. If you say you're going to finish the project, finish it. If you decide you're going to learn a skill, learn it. If you say you're going to stop tolerating disrespect, enforce the boundary. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. And eventually your mind begins to believe you. You begin thinking, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. That is a powerful foundation, because now confidence isn't based on compliments. It isn't based on likes. It isn't based on followers. It isn't based on whether someone thinks you're attractive, intelligent, successful, or impressive. Your confidence is based on something much stronger, your relationship with yourself. And this is where the transformation begins. You have to stop asking yourself, "Do I feel confident?" Start asking, "What would a confident person do right now?" Would they make the phone call? Make the phone call. Would they apply for the opportunity? Apply. Would they speak honestly? Speak. Would they walk away from disrespect? Walk away. Would they start even though they're inexperienced? Start. Would they admit they don't know something? Admit it. Would they try again after failing? Try again. You don't have to become confident first. You become confident by repeatedly behaving like someone who trusts themselves. And yes, at first it will feel uncomfortable. Your heart may race, your hands may shake, your mind may tell you to retreat. Do it anyway, because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is refusing to let fear make your decisions. There is another important decision you must make. You have to decide that your past is no longer allowed to be your identity. Maybe you failed. Maybe you made terrible decisions. Maybe you wasted years. Maybe you embarrassed yourself. Maybe someone convinced you that you were nothing. But none of those things have the authority to determine who you become next. Your past can explain you. It can teach you. It can humble you. But it does not have to imprison you. You are allowed to become someone your past would not recognize. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to start again. And you are allowed to believe in yourself before the evidence is complete. Because sometimes you have to believe in the possibility of who you can become before you have proof. That's what the decision is. Not, "I am already everything I want to be," but, "I am willing to become everything I am capable of becoming." There is power in that statement, because now you don't need perfection. You only need progress. You don't need to know the entire path. You only need to take the next step. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to stop abandoning yourself. So today, make a decision, a real one. Decide that self-doubt can have a voice, but it will no longer have the final vote. Decide that fear can walk beside you, but it will not hold the steering wheel. Decide that rejection can hurt, but it will not define you. Decide that failure can teach you, but it will not stop you. And decide that from this moment forward, you will begin building a relationship with yourself that is based on trust. Because the most confident person in the room isn't always the loudest. Sometimes it's the person who quietly knows, "I can trust myself." And once you reach that point, something changes. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for perfect circumstances. You stop waiting to become fearless. You simply move. And every step you take becomes another piece of evidence. Evidence that you are capable. Evidence that you are resilient. evidence that you can handle discomfort, evidence that you can survive rejection, evidence that you can learn, evidence that you can grow, evidence that you can become more. Until one day you look back and realize the person you were so afraid to become was the person you were always capable of becoming. And it all began with one decision. You stopped doubting yourself long enough to finally give yourself a chance. Chapter 2. Confidence is not a feeling. You have probably said it before. I just need to feel more confident. Maybe you've told yourself you'll start when you feel ready. You'll speak up when you're more confident. You'll apply for the opportunity when you feel qualified. You'll approach that person when you're less nervous. You'll start the business when you believe in yourself more. You'll finally change your life when you feel different on the inside. But what if you've been waiting for confidence in the wrong direction? What if confidence isn't something you need to feel before you act? What if confidence is something you build because you act? This is one of the most important truths you will learn on your journey. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. Confidence is evidence you build, and evidence comes from action. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. You can watch 100 videos about balance. You can read every book about cycling. You can listen to someone explain exactly how to position your body, but none of that gives you the confidence of actually riding. At some point, you have to get on the bicycle. You wobble, you panic, you may fall, you try again, you wobble less. You begin to understand balance. And eventually something changes. You don't need someone standing beside you saying, "You can do it." You know you can do it because you have done it. That's how confidence works. You don't think your way into believing you can handle life. You give yourself experiences that prove you can. Every time you do something difficult, you collect evidence. You have a difficult conversation. Evidence. You finish something you wanted to quit. Evidence. You speak in front of people despite being nervous. Evidence. You walk away from something unhealthy. Evidence. You apply for an opportunity and get rejected. Even that is evidence, because now you know, I can handle rejection. You are building a history with yourself, and eventually that history becomes confidence. This is why action is so powerful. Your brain pays attention to what you repeatedly do. If you constantly avoid difficult situations, your brain learns, this is dangerous. We should stay away. But if you repeatedly face difficult situations and discover that you survive them, your brain learns something completely different. Maybe I can handle this. Then, I've handled this before, and eventually, I know I can handle this. That transformation doesn't happen because you repeated a motivational quote. It happens because you created evidence. And this is why you should stop trying to eliminate fear. Instead, start expanding what you can do while fear is present. You may never reach a point where you're completely fearless. The confident person still gets nervous. The confident person still experiences uncertainty. The confident person still has moments where their heart beats faster and their mind asks, what if this goes wrong? The difference is that they have trained themselves not to obey every fearful thought. They've learned, I can feel afraid and still move. That is a completely different level of confidence, because now fear no longer controls your behavior. Imagine two people standing outside an important interview. Both are nervous. Both are thinking about the possibility of failure. Both feel their heart racing. One person says, I'm too nervous. Maybe I should cancel. The other says, I'm nervous, but I'm going in. Who is more confident? The second person. Not because they felt less fear, because they acted despite it. And that distinction will change the way you approach your entire life. You don't need to wait until you're comfortable. In fact, if you always wait for comfort, your comfort zone will become your prison. Every meaningful transformation requires you to do something that feels slightly uncomfortable. Want to become better at speaking? Speak. Want to become socially confident? Talk to people. Want to become physically stronger? Train. Want to become financially capable? Learn and practice valuable skills. Want to become more assertive? Start expressing your opinions respectfully. Want to become disciplined? Do what you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like it. The pattern is simple. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates self-trust. Self-trust creates confidence. But there's another reason people struggle with confidence. They set goals that are so large that they become intimidated by them. They say, I'm going to completely transform my life. Then they don't know where to begin, so they do nothing. Instead, make confidence ridiculously practical. Don't tell yourself, I need to become fearless. Tell yourself, today I'm going to do one thing I've been avoiding. That's enough. Maybe it's making a phone call. Maybe it's sending an email. Maybe it's asking a difficult question. Maybe it's saying no. Maybe it's starting the first 10 minutes of a project. Maybe it's walking into a gym. Maybe it's introducing yourself to someone new. The action doesn't have to be dramatic. It has to be intentional. Because every small act of courage tells your brain, I don't run from everything that makes me uncomfortable. And those small moments accumulate. One day you're no longer the person who avoids difficult conversations. You're the person who has them. You're no longer the person who constantly delays. You're the person who starts. You're no longer the person who needs someone else to motivate you. You're becoming someone who can move without external permission. That's confidence. And this is why you must be careful with the way you speak to yourself. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm weak, I'm awkward, I'm not good enough, I always fail, your behavior will eventually begin aligning with those beliefs. But don't make the opposite mistake and simply repeat unrealistic affirmations. Instead, give yourself challenges that create real proof. Don't just say, I'm disciplined. Prove it. Keep the commitment. Don't just say, I'm brave. Prove it. Have the conversation. Don't just say, I believe in myself. Prove it. Take the opportunity. Real confidence doesn't need to constantly announce itself. It has receipts, and those receipts are your actions. There is another powerful shift you need to make. Stop measuring confidence by how you feel before doing something. Measure it by what you're willing to do despite how you feel. You may feel nervous before making the decision. Do it. You may feel uncertain before starting. Start. You may feel embarrassed before speaking. Speak. You may feel unqualified before applying. Apply. You may feel afraid before taking the next step. Take it. And something remarkable happens when you repeatedly do this. The things that once terrified you become normal. Your world expands. Your capacity expands. Your identity expands. And suddenly you realize, I am capable of much more than I thought. That realization is one of the greatest sources of confidence a person can experience. But don't expect every action to produce success. Sometimes you'll act and fail. Sometimes you'll be rejected. Sometimes you'll make a mistake. Sometimes you'll discover that you weren't prepared. Good. Learn from it. Because confidence isn't the belief that everything will work out exactly as planned. Confidence is the belief that you can respond when it doesn't. That is much stronger. If you believe you can handle success but can't handle failure, your confidence is fragile. If you believe you can handle praise but can't handle criticism, your confidence depends on approval. If you believe you can move forward only when everything is certain, your confidence depends on perfect conditions. But when you reach the point where you can say, whatever happens, I will figure out my next move, you become extremely difficult to shake. That is the kind of confidence we're building. Not loud, not arrogant, not performative, capable. So stop asking yourself, when will I finally feel confident? Ask a better question. What can I do today that will give me one more reason to trust myself? Then do it. One action, one promise, one uncomfortable conversation, one difficult decision, one step forward, then another and another. Because confidence isn't built in your imagination. It is built in the moments when nobody's watching and you decide to do what you said you would do. You don't need to feel ready. You need to begin. You don't need to feel fearless. You need to move. You don't need to know everything. You need to learn. You don't need guaranteed success. You need the courage to try. And eventually the person who once said, "I don't think I can," will become the person who says, "I've never done this before, but I'll figure it out." That sentence is confidence. And it doesn't come from feelings. It comes from action. Pride Chapter 3. Stop needing everyone's approval. There is a silent addiction that controls more people than they realize. It doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't come with withdrawal symptoms. Nobody sees it on the outside. But it can quietly control your decisions, your relationships, your career, your appearance, your voice, and even the person you become. The addiction is this: needing to be liked. You want people to approve of you. You want them to understand you. You want them to agree with your decisions. You want them to think you're a good person. You want them to compliment you. You want them to accept you. And when someone doesn't, you start questioning yourself. Did I say something wrong? Why don't they like me? What are they thinking about me? Should I apologize? Maybe I should change. And before you know it, you're no longer living your life. You're managing other people's reactions to it. That's not confidence, that's dependence. And if you want to become dangerously confident, you have to break this addiction. Because here's a truth that may be uncomfortable. You can be a good person and still be disliked. You can have good intentions and still be misunderstood. You can tell the truth and still offend someone. You can set a healthy boundary and still disappoint someone. You can make the right decision for your life and still have people disagree with you. And none of those things automatically mean you did something wrong. Sometimes people simply won't like your choices. Sometimes they won't understand your journey. Sometimes they benefited from the version of you that had no boundaries, and when you finally develop boundaries, they will call you difficult. Think about that. The moment you stop allowing someone to control you, they may accuse you of changing. And they're right. You are changing. You're becoming healthier. You're becoming stronger. You're becoming more honest with yourself. And that transformation may make some people uncomfortable. You cannot build a powerful life while making everybody else's comfort your responsibility. At some point, you have to ask, am I doing this because it's right for me or because I'm afraid of what people will think? That question can expose a lot. Maybe you're staying in a relationship because you're afraid of what people will say if you leave. Maybe you're pursuing a career because your family expects it. Maybe you're pretending to agree because you don't want conflict. Maybe you're constantly saying yes because you don't want to disappoint people. Maybe you're hiding your ambitions because you're afraid people will laugh if you fail. Maybe you dress, speak, behave, or make decisions based on what will receive the most approval. And slowly you lose contact with yourself. You become a collection of other people's expectations. You know what everyone else wants from you, but you don't know what you want anymore. That's a dangerous place to live, because eventually resentment begins to grow. You resent the people you keep pleasing. You resent the responsibilities you accepted. You resent the life you're living. But here's the painful truth. You taught people how to treat you by constantly abandoning your own boundaries to keep them happy. That doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means you have more power than you think. You can change the pattern. You can start saying no. You can stop over-explaining. You can stop apologizing for every decision. You can stop trying to convince everyone that your intentions are good. You can simply live according to your values. And this is where confidence becomes powerful. A confident person understands that approval is pleasant, but it isn't necessary. They enjoy compliments, but they don't depend on them. They appreciate acceptance, but they don't collapse without it. They listen to criticism, but they don't automatically obey it. They consider other people's opinions, but they don't surrender their identity to them. That distinction matters because there is a difference between being open-minded and being easily controlled. You should listen. You should learn. You should be willing to admit when you're wrong, but listening doesn't mean surrendering your judgment. Someone can criticize your decision, and you can calmly think, is there something useful here? If there is, learn from it. If there isn't, let it go. You don't have to defend yourself against every opinion. This is something insecure people often struggle with. They feel compelled to explain everything. Why they made a decision, why they said something, why they couldn't attend, why they left, why they changed, why they chose differently. They write paragraphs to people who didn't even ask for an explanation. Why? Because they're trying to control the other person's perception. But you can't control perception. You can spend your entire life trying to make everyone understand you, and someone will still misunderstand you. Someone will still judge you. Someone will still criticize you. Someone will still create a story about you that isn't true. Let them. You don't have to attend every courtroom where someone puts your character on trial. Sometimes your peace is more valuable than your reputation. And this brings us to one of the hardest lessons about confidence. You have to become comfortable being misunderstood, not recklessly, not because you don't care about anyone, but because you understand that other people's perception is outside your control. Imagine posting something online. Someone doesn't like it. They criticize you. You feel the urge to delete it. Now imagine another situation. You make a decision about your career. A friend disagrees. You immediately begin doubting yourself. Another situation, you establish a boundary. Someone becomes angry. You immediately remove the boundary. Do you see the pattern? Your emotional state is being controlled by external reactions. That's exhausting. And if you live like that long enough, you become afraid to do anything authentic because every decision becomes a question. What will they think? But imagine replacing that question with, what do I believe is right? That's freedom. Before you speak, ask, is this honest? Before you commit, ask, do I genuinely want this? Before you say yes, ask, am I saying yes because I want to or because I'm afraid to say no? Before you change your decision, ask, did I actually discover that I was wrong or did someone simply disagree with me? Those questions will protect you from living a life designed by other people. And you need to understand something else. You will never be liked by everyone. It's mathematically impossible. People have different values, different personalities, different experiences, different expectations, different preferences. One person will think you're too quiet. Another will think you're too loud. One will think you're too ambitious. Another will think you're not ambitious enough. One will think you're too serious. Another will think you're immature. One person will admire you. Another will dislike you. And sometimes both people will be looking at the same person, you. So stop trying to become universally acceptable. Become authentically aligned. Know your values. Know your standards. Know what you will tolerate. Know what you won't tolerate. Know what you're pursuing. Know what matters to you. And when you know those things, decisions become easier. You don't need to ask 10 people what you should do. You don't need a committee to approve your life. You can listen to wise counsel. You can seek advice. You can learn from people with experience. But ultimately, you have to live with your decisions, not them. You. And that's why you cannot outsource your life. People may advise you. People may encourage you. People may criticize you. People may celebrate you, but nobody else can live your life for you. So don't build a life that looks impressive to everyone else while feeling completely wrong to you. That's not success, that's performance. And performance eventually becomes exhausting. Real confidence begins when you can stand in front of yourself and say, I know who I am. I know what I value. I know what I'm building. And I don't need everyone to understand it. That doesn't mean becoming selfish. It means becoming grounded. You can still be kind. You can still listen. You can still apologize. You can still care deeply about people. But you stop sacrificing your identity simply to avoid their disappointment. Because disappointment is not destruction. Someone being upset with you does not mean you have failed. Someone saying no does not mean you're worthless. Someone walking away does not mean you're unlovable. Someone disagreeing with you does not mean you're wrong. Someone criticizing you does not mean you're inadequate. Learn to separate discomfort from danger. Being disliked can feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is not the same as catastrophe. And once you understand that, something changes. You become willing to speak, willing to try, willing to set boundaries, willing to take risks, willing to be different, willing to fail publicly, willing to pursue something nobody else understands. You become free, and freedom is one of the deepest forms of confidence. So here's your challenge. For the next few days, pay attention to how often you seek approval. Notice when you say yes when you mean no. Notice when you change your opinion because someone disagrees. Notice when you overexplain. Notice when you apologize for simply having a boundary. Notice when you're afraid to try something because someone might judge you. Don't condemn yourself. Just notice. Awareness comes first, then practice. Say no when you mean no. Speak when you have something meaningful to say. Make the decision. Take the opportunity. Let someone disagree. Let someone misunderstand. Let someone walk away. And remind yourself, I don't have to be liked by everyone to be worthy. You don't need universal approval. You need self-respect. Because the moment you stop needing everyone to like you, you become much harder to manipulate. And the moment you stop living for approval, you finally have the freedom to live for something greater. Your values, your purpose, your growth, your future, and yourself. Stop chasing acceptance. Build a life you respect. Then let the right people find you there. Chapter 4. Keep promises to yourself. There is a relationship you will have for the rest of your life. You can leave friendships. You can end relationships. You can change careers. You can move to another city. You can lose people you once thought would always be there. But there is one person you can never escape: yourself. And the quality of your life will be deeply influenced by the quality of the relationship you have with that person. Yet most people spend years trying to earn respect from others while quietly losing respect for themselves. They want people to see them as disciplined, reliable, strong, successful, confident. But privately, they know the truth. They don't trust themselves. They make promises to themselves and break them. They set goals and abandon them. They say they'll change and return to the same habits. They say they'll start tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. And eventually they stop believing their own words. That is where confidence begins to collapse. Because deep confidence isn't built by convincing other people that you're capable. It begins when you become someone you can count on. Think about the promises you have made to yourself. I'll wake up early tomorrow. You don't. I'll start exercising. You quit after a few days. I'll stop wasting so much time. You return to the same distractions. I'll finish what I started. You abandon it halfway through. I'll stop contacting that person. You go back. I'll finally take my goals seriously. You delay again. None of these individual moments may seem significant, but they leave a psychological footprint. Every broken promise quietly communicates something to your mind. My own word cannot be trusted, and when you don't trust yourself, you become dependent on external motivation. You need someone to push you, someone to encourage you, someone to remind you, someone to hold you accountable, someone to believe in you. There is nothing wrong with support, but if you constantly need external pressure to do what you promised yourself you would do, something is missing. Self-trust. And self-trust is built the same way trust is built with another person, through consistency. Imagine you have a friend who constantly promises to show up and never does. They say they'll call, they don't. They say they'll help, they disappear. They make commitments and repeatedly break them. Would you trust that person? Probably not. Now ask yourself a difficult question. Are you that friend to yourself? It's uncomfortable, but it's important. Because confidence is not simply believing that you're amazing. Confidence is knowing that when life becomes difficult, you won't abandon yourself. You know you'll show up. You know you'll try. You know you'll keep moving. You know you'll correct yourself when you make mistakes. You know you'll do what needs to be done even when motivation disappears. That kind of confidence cannot be faked. It is earned. One promise at a time. And here's where many people make a mistake. They make enormous promises. From tomorrow, I'm going to completely transform my life. They're going to wake up at 5 a.m., exercise every day, read 50 pages, start a business, eat perfectly, work for 12 hours, quit social media, become financially successful, and somehow maintain all of it indefinitely. The first day feels exciting. The second day is harder. By the third day, reality arrives. They miss one habit, then another. Then they feel guilty. Then they abandon the entire plan. And now they've created another piece of evidence that they can't trust themselves. Don't do this. Start smaller. If you've struggled to keep promises to yourself, don't begin by making huge promises. Make small promises you can actually keep. Tell yourself, I will walk for 10 minutes today, then walk. I will work on this project for 15 minutes, then work. I will put my phone away for 30 minutes, then do it. I will read 5 pages. Read them. The goal isn't the size of the action. The goal is rebuilding trust. You are teaching yourself, when I say something, I follow through. That is powerful, because eventually 15 minutes becomes 30. 30 becomes an hour. One day becomes a week. A week becomes a month. And what began as a tiny promise becomes an identity. You stop thinking, I'm trying to become disciplined. You begin thinking, I'm a person who follows through. Identity changes behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. That's how transformation happens. But there is another side to keeping promises to yourself. You must learn to make promises carefully. Don't promise yourself something just because you're emotional in the moment. Don't make commitments based on temporary excitement. Make commitments based on what you genuinely intend to do. Because every time you casually say, I'll do it, and don't, you weaken the meaning of your own word. Your word should mean something, especially to you. This also applies to boundaries. Suppose you tell yourself, if this person disrespects me again, I'm going to leave. Then they disrespect you again. But you stay. Then it happens again. You stay. Eventually, you stop believing yourself. You said you would protect yourself. You didn't. This doesn't mean you should make impulsive decisions. It means that when you establish a reasonable boundary, you need to respect it. Otherwise, you're teaching yourself that your own standards are negotiable whenever someone pushes hard enough. And that's dangerous. Self-respect isn't simply saying, "I deserve better." It's behaving like someone who believes it. You say you deserve rest. Rest? You say you deserve healthy relationships? Stop repeatedly choosing situations that destroy your peace. You say your goals matter? Give them your time. You say your future matters. Make decisions today that protect it. Your behavior tells the truth about what you believe, not your words, your behavior. You can tell yourself that you're confident, but if you constantly betray your own values, your mind knows. And that's why some people can appear incredibly confident while privately feeling insecure. They're performing confidence for the world, but they don't trust themselves. The solution isn't to perform harder, it's to become more reliable. Become the person who shows up when nobody's watching. Become the person who finishes what they start. Become the person who can say no. Become the person who can delay gratification. Become the person who doesn't need to be constantly rescued from their own decisions. That is where self-respect grows. And there will be days when you fail. This is important. Keeping promises to yourself does not mean becoming perfect. You will miss a workout. You will procrastinate. You will lose your temper. You will make a bad decision. You will fall back into an old habit. When that happens, don't turn one failure into an identity. Don't say, "See, I'm useless." Say, "I broke the promise. Now I repair it." That's maturity. You don't need to hate yourself into discipline. You need to return to your commitment. If you miss one day, return the next. If you fail, learn. If you fall, get back up. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is reliability. Because a confident person doesn't necessarily know they'll never fail. They know they won't abandon themselves when they do. That is a much deeper form of confidence, and it changes how you walk through life. You stop desperately searching for validation because you already have evidence of your own strength. You stop comparing yourself constantly because you're focused on your own progress. You stop needing motivational speeches every morning because you've developed discipline. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" because you've built a history of doing difficult things. You trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you become calmer. You don't have to prove everything. You don't have to announce every goal. You don't have to tell everyone what you're about to accomplish. You can simply work, quietly, consistently, patiently. Let your results speak. So here's something I want you to do after listening to this chapter. Choose one promise, not 10, not 20. One, something small enough that you can realistically keep it, and then keep it. Do it tomorrow, then the day after, then again. Don't worry about impressing anyone. You're not building a reputation with the world. You're rebuilding a relationship with yourself. And every time you follow through, tell yourself, "I can count on me." Those words are powerful because there may come a day when everyone else is uncertain, when people doubt you, when circumstances change, when plans collapse, when nobody knows what to do next. And in that moment, one question matters. Can you count on yourself? If the answer is yes, you possess something far more valuable than temporary motivation. You possess self-trust, and self-trust becomes self-respect. Self-respect becomes confidence, and confidence becomes a foundation from which you can build almost anything. So stop making promises you don't intend to keep. Stop making dramatic declarations and abandoning them a week later. Start small, follow through, repeat, build evidence, and one day you'll look at yourself differently. Not because someone finally told you that you're worthy, not because everyone finally approved of you, but because you know something from experience. When you give yourself your word, you keep it. And that is when you stop merely wishing for confidence and start becoming the kind of person who naturally possesses it. Chapter 5. Do what scares you. Fear has a strange way of disguising itself. Sometimes it looks like procrastination. Sometimes it looks like overthinking. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism. Sometimes it sounds like, I'm just waiting for the right time. I need more information. I'm not ready yet. Maybe next month. What if it doesn't work? And sometimes fear doesn't look like fear at all. It looks like a reasonable excuse. But underneath many of those excuses is one simple message. Don't risk it. Don't apply. Don't speak. Don't start. Don't ask. Don't leave. Don't try. Don't fail. Stay where you are. Stay where it's familiar. Stay where you know what to expect. And that's exactly why fear can become so dangerous. Not because fear always hurts you, but because obeying fear can quietly shrink your life. Think about everything you haven't done because you were afraid. The opportunity you didn't pursue, the conversation you avoided, the business idea you never started, the person you never approached, the skill you never learned, the boundary you never established, the dream you kept postponing. Now imagine what happens when you spend years avoiding discomfort. Your world gets smaller, your comfort zone becomes stronger, and eventually things that shouldn't frighten you begin to feel impossible. That's why confidence requires a different approach. You don't wait for fear to disappear. You train yourself to move while fear is present. This is one of the greatest secrets of confidence. You become confident by proving to yourself that fear doesn't have to make your decisions. Think about someone who is afraid of public speaking. The first time they stand in front of an audience, their heart may race, their hands may shake, their voice may tremble, they may forget a sentence, but they do it. Then they do it again and again. Eventually something changes. The fear may not disappear completely, but it becomes familiar. And what was once terrifying becomes manageable. This is exposure. You repeatedly enter situations that challenge you, and your brain begins learning, I can handle this. That's how courage grows. Not through one heroic moment, through repeated practice. If you want to become more confident socially, talk to more people. If you want to become better at speaking, speak more. If you want to become comfortable with rejection, take more chances. If you want to become decisive, make more decisions. If you want to become assertive, practice expressing your needs. If you want to become comfortable being seen, stop hiding every imperfect part of yourself. You need reps. Confidence is a skill, and skills require practice. But here's where you need to be intelligent. Doing what scares you does not mean doing reckless or dangerous things. It doesn't mean ignoring legitimate risks. It doesn't mean putting yourself in harmful situations just to prove you're brave. Confidence is not stupidity. Courage is in the absence of judgment. The goal is to challenge unnecessary fear, not ignore genuine danger. There is a difference between, I'm afraid to apply because I might get rejected, and this situation is genuinely unsafe. One may require courage, the other may require wisdom. Learn the difference. Because real confidence isn't about proving that you're fearless. It's about becoming capable of making clear decisions even when your emotions are loud. And fear can be very loud. It will tell you, everyone will laugh. You'll embarrass yourself. You're not qualified. Someone else is better. You'll fail. You'll regret it. But here's the question. What if the fear is wrong? What if you succeed? What if they respect you? What if you discover that you're capable? What if the opportunity changes your life? What if the version of yourself you've been waiting for is on the other side of the thing you're avoiding? You'll never know if you refuse to move. That's why you need to start asking a different question. Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what will it cost me if I never try? That question is powerful because failure has a cost, but regret has a cost too. Imagine reaching the end of a decade and realizing you spent most of it waiting. Waiting until you were confident. Waiting until you had enough money. waiting until people understood you, waiting until you felt qualified, waiting until you were no longer afraid, and then discovering that the perfect moment never arrived. That's a painful realization. Don't let fear steal years from you. You don't need to become fearless. You need to become less obedient to fear. Start small. If you're afraid of speaking up, don't begin by giving a speech to thousands of people. Say something in a meeting, ask a question, share an opinion, have the conversation you've been postponing. If you're afraid of rejection, don't begin with the biggest risk of your life. Make a small request. Ask. Let the answer be yes or no. And learn something. You survived. That's the point. Every time you face fear and survive, your confidence grows. You are creating evidence. I was nervous, but I did it. I was rejected, but I'm okay. I made a mistake, but I learned. I was uncomfortable, but I stayed. These experiences become psychological armor, not armor that makes you emotionless, armor that makes you resilient. And resilience is one of the strongest forms of confidence, because eventually you stop thinking, nothing bad can happen to me, and start thinking, something bad might happen, but I can handle it. That's a completely different mindset. The first is unrealistic. The second is powerful. You don't need certainty, you need capacity. And capacity is built through experience. This is why you should stop protecting yourself from every uncomfortable experience. If you always avoid embarrassment, you'll never learn to tolerate being seen. If you always avoid rejection, you'll never learn that rejection isn't the end of the world. If you always avoid difficult conversations, you'll never learn how to communicate under pressure. If you always avoid failure, you'll never learn how to recover from it. Comfort feels safe, but too much comfort makes you fragile. Think about your muscles. If you never challenge them, they don't become stronger. Your psychological muscles work similarly. Challenge creates adaptation. Discomfort creates growth. And controlled exposure creates confidence. But don't wait for massive challenges. Your daily life is full of opportunities. Make the phone call. Raise your hand. Ask the question. Start the project. Introduce yourself. Say no. Say yes to the opportunity. Admit you don't know. Ask for help. Share your work. Apply for the position. Go to the event alone. Speak your opinion respectfully. Do something you've been postponing. Each one is a repetition, and repetitions build identity. Eventually, you stop being someone who avoids difficult things. You become someone who approaches them. That identity is powerful because your behavior begins to say, I'm not afraid of discomfort. And once you become comfortable being uncomfortable, your possibilities expand. You can learn more, try more, meet more people, take more opportunities, recover from failure faster, and pursue goals that previously seemed impossible. Fear will still show up. Let it. You don't need to fight it every time. Sometimes you simply need to acknowledge it. Yes, I'm nervous. Then move. Yes, I don't know what will happen. Move. Yes, I could fail. Move. Yes, people may judge me. Move. Fear doesn't have to leave before you begin. Sometimes it comes with you. Let it ride in the passenger seat. Just don't let it drive. And here's a powerful challenge for you. For the next 7 days, do one thing every day that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Not reckless, not dangerous, just uncomfortable. Have a conversation you've been avoiding. Speak to someone new. Share an idea. Ask for something you want. Take yourself somewhere alone. Start the project. Exercise when you don't feel like it. Say no to something that violates your boundaries. Whatever it is, do it deliberately. Then write down what happened. You may discover something surprising. The thing you feared often wasn't as powerful as you imagined. And even when the outcome isn't what you wanted, you gain something valuable. Proof that you can handle reality. That is what confidence really gives you. Not a guarantee that life will always go your way, but trust that you can navigate it when it doesn't. So stop asking, how can I get rid of my fear? Ask, how can I become stronger than my fear? That's the better question, because the goal isn't to become a person who never feels afraid. The goal is to become the person who feels fear and moves anyway. And every time you do, you become a little harder to stop, a little more capable, a little more resilient, a little more confident, until one day you realize that the life you once thought required extraordinary courage has simply become your normal life. And you will look back at the fears that once controlled you and wonder, why did I let that decide my life for so long? The answer won't matter anymore, because you moved, you faced it, you learned, you grew, and you discovered something that fear never wanted you to know. You were capable of far more than you believed. Chapter 6. Master your inner voice. There is a voice you hear every day that can either build your confidence or destroy it. You hear it when you wake up. You hear it when you look in the mirror. You hear it after you make a mistake. You hear it when someone criticizes you. You hear it when you fail. You hear it when you compare yourself to someone else. And you hear it in those quiet moments when nobody else is around. It's your own voice. And for many people, that voice is their greatest enemy, not because it is always loud, but because they have listened to it for so long that they no longer question it. It says, you're not good enough. You'll probably fail. You're not attractive enough. You're too far behind. Other people are better than you. Nobody really cares about you. You always mess things up. Who do you think you are? And because the voice comes from inside your own head, you assume it must be telling the truth. But here's something you need to understand. A thought is not automatically a fact. Just because your mind says something doesn't mean it is true. Your mind can be afraid. Your mind can be tired. Your mind can be influenced by your past. Your mind can exaggerate. Your mind can predict disaster. Your mind can remember your failures more easily than your victories. And if you believe every thought you have, you will eventually become a prisoner of your own mind. So if you want dangerous confidence, you must learn to manage your inner voice. Not by pretending everything is perfect, not by repeating empty positive statements, but by learning to speak to yourself with honesty, strength, and perspective. Think about how you would talk to someone you genuinely care about. Imagine your closest friend comes to you and says, I failed an important test. I'm such a failure. I'll never succeed. Would you respond, you're right, you're worthless? Of course not. You would probably say, you failed the test, but that doesn't mean you're a failure. Let's figure out what went wrong and what you can do differently next time. That's reasonable. That's compassionate. That's constructive. Now ask yourself, why don't you speak to yourself that way? Why do you give other people understanding while giving yourself condemnation? Why do you allow yourself one mistake before declaring yourself a failure? Why do you remember every embarrassing moment while forgetting the times you succeeded? Why do you treat yourself like an enemy and then wonder why you don't feel confident? Your inner voice matters because the way you repeatedly speak to yourself influences the way you see yourself. And the way you see yourself influences the way you behave. If you constantly tell yourself you're incapable, you'll hesitate. If you constantly tell yourself you're unattractive, you'll hide. If you constantly tell yourself you're socially awkward, you'll avoid people. If you constantly tell yourself you're destined to fail, you'll stop taking risks. Your thoughts become instructions. That's why you need to become the person who challenges destructive thoughts instead of automatically accepting them. Suppose you make a mistake and your mind says, I always ruin everything. Stop. Ask, always? Probably not. Your mind took one event and turned it into an identity. Replace it with something more accurate. I made a mistake. I need to learn from it. Notice the difference. The first statement attacks your identity. The second addresses your behavior. That distinction is incredibly important. You are not your worst decision. You are not your biggest failure. You are not the most embarrassing thing you've ever done. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are not the opinion someone has about you. You are a person who is still developing, and that means you are allowed to be unfinished. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know exactly where your life is going. You simply need to keep moving. Another dangerous habit is comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. You look at their success, their body, their relationship, their house, their career, their social life, their confidence, and then you look at yourself and think, I'm behind. But you don't know their entire story. You don't know what they sacrificed. You don't know their struggles. You don't know what happens when the camera turns off. And even if they truly are ahead of you in some area, that doesn't make you worthless. Someone else's progress is not evidence of your failure. Their success doesn't subtract from your potential. So when comparison appears, change the question. Instead of, why am I not where they are? Ask, what can I learn from them? Now comparison becomes information instead of punishment. You don't have to hate someone else's success to appreciate your own journey. And you don't have to diminish yourself to admire someone else. There is room for both. Now let's talk about another powerful form of inner confidence. How you speak to yourself after failure. This is where many people either become stronger or weaker. A confident person can fail and say, that didn't work. An insecure person often says, I am a failure. See the difference? One describes an event, the other creates an identity. If something goes wrong, don't attack yourself. Analyze yourself. Ask, what happened? What did I control? What didn't I control? What can I learn? What will I do differently next time? That's how strong people think. They don't waste every failure on self-hatred. They turn failure into information. And when you start doing this, failure becomes less frightening. Because now even failure has value. You either succeed or you learn. And sometimes you do both. This doesn't mean you should never criticize yourself. Healthy self-evaluation is important. If you behave badly, admit it. If you hurt someone, apologize. If you made a poor decision, own it. But there is a difference between accountability and self-destruction. Accountability says, I did something wrong and I need to make it right. Self-destruction says, I am a terrible person and I will never change. One produces growth, the other produces shame. Choose growth. Another way to strengthen your inner voice is to stop using absolute language against yourself. Be careful with words like always, never, everyone, nobody. I'm terrible at everything. Nothing ever works for me. These statements feel powerful when you're emotional, but they often aren't accurate. And inaccurate thinking produces inaccurate conclusions. Instead, become precise. I struggled with this. I made a mistake. This relationship didn't work. I haven't developed this skill yet. I'm disappointed with my performance. That last word is important. Yet. You may not be good at something yet. You may not understand something yet. You may not have reached your goal yet. Yet leaves the door open. And sometimes confidence is simply refusing to close that door. But there's something else you need to do. Stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you're doing well. Learn to acknowledge your own progress. Did you do something today that you couldn't do 6 months ago? Recognize it. Did you handle a situation better than you used to? Recognize it. Did you finally establish a boundary? Recognize it. Did you keep a promise to yourself? Recognize it. Did you face something that frightened you? Recognize it. Your brain needs evidence of progress. Give it some. You don't need to brag about it. You don't need to announce it. Just acknowledge it internally. I'm growing. That's enough. Because confidence grows when your mind has evidence that you're moving forward. And this is why keeping promises to yourself matters so much. When you repeatedly act in alignment with what you say, your inner voice becomes more trustworthy. You begin to hear, I've done difficult things before. I can learn this. I've survived worse. I don't know the answer yet, but I'll figure it out. That voice is very different from, I can't. I'll never. I'm not enough. You are not trying to become someone who never experiences negative thoughts. That's unrealistic. You're becoming someone who doesn't automatically obey them. A thought can knock on the door. You don't have to invite it inside. You can say, that's fear talking. That's insecurity talking. That's an old belief. That's not necessarily true. Then choose a more useful thought, not a fantasy, a useful truth. This is difficult, but I can learn. I'm nervous, but I can still act. I made a mistake, but I can correct it. They rejected me, but rejection doesn't define my worth. I don't know yet, but I can find out. That's real mental strength. And over time, your inner voice begins to change. It becomes less cruel, more disciplined, more realistic, more courageous, more supportive. Not because you lied to yourself, but because you trained yourself to think differently. And remember, the goal isn't to convince yourself that you're better than everyone else. The goal is to stop convincing yourself that you're less than everyone else. You don't need superiority. You need stability. You don't need to walk into a room thinking, I'm the best person here. You can walk in thinking, I don't need to be the best person here. I just need to be comfortable being myself. That's freedom. So from today, pay attention to your inner dialogue. Listen to how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake. Listen to what you say when you see someone more successful. Listen to what happens in your mind when someone rejects you. Then challenge the voice. Ask, is this true? Is this useful? Would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, change the language. Speak to yourself with honesty. Demand better from yourself. But don't destroy yourself in the process, because the person you hear most often in this life is you. And you should not spend your entire life living with an enemy inside your own head. Become your own coach, your own encourager, your own source of perspective, your own reminder that one bad day isn't a bad life. One failure isn't a failed identity. One rejection isn't a rejection of your entire existence. One mistake doesn't erase your progress. You are still becoming. And as you learn to control the voice inside your head, something remarkable happens. The world doesn't necessarily become less critical, but you become less dependent on its approval, because you've developed something stronger, an inner foundation. And when your inner foundation becomes strong, criticism doesn't destroy you. Failure doesn't define you. Comparison doesn't control you. Fear doesn't command you. And doubt doesn't get the final word. You begin to hear a different voice, a voice that says, keep going, learn, try again. You can handle this. You don't have to be perfect. You are becoming stronger. And eventually that voice becomes the one you believe. That is when confidence stops being something you perform for the world and becomes something you carry within you. Chapter 7. Become comfortable with rejection. Few words can trigger fear as quickly as one simple word. No. No, we don't want you. No, you're not selected. No, I'm not interested. No, I don't agree. No, this isn't going to work. No, I don't feel the same way. No, you didn't get the opportunity. For many people, rejection feels like a verdict. They don't hear, this opportunity didn't work out. They hear, you are not good enough. And that is where rejection becomes dangerous. Not because rejection itself can destroy you, but because of the meaning you attach to it. If you want to become dangerously confident, you must learn one of the most liberating lessons in life. Rejection is an event. It is not an identity. Someone can reject your application without rejecting your worth. Someone can reject your idea without rejecting your intelligence. Someone can reject a relationship without rejecting your value as a human being. Someone can disagree with you without proving that you're wrong. Someone can choose somebody else without proving that you're inferior. The outcome may hurt, but the story you tell yourself afterward determines how long that pain controls you. Think about the last time you were rejected. Maybe you applied for something and didn't get it. Maybe someone you wanted didn't want you back. Maybe a friend stopped responding. Maybe a business opportunity disappeared. Maybe you were excluded from something. What did you tell yourself? I wasn't good enough. Nobody wants me. I'll never find anyone. I'm always unlucky. What's wrong with me? Notice what happened. One event became a conclusion about your entire identity. That's the mistake. Rejection gives you information about one situation. Your mind often turns it into information about your entire life. Don't let it. Sometimes rejection simply means the timing was wrong. The fit was wrong. The other person had different priorities. Someone else was more qualified for that particular role. The opportunity changed. The relationship wasn't compatible. Your idea needed improvement, or simply, they said no. That's it. You don't always need a dramatic explanation, and you certainly don't need to turn rejection into self-hatred. Here's another truth. You cannot become highly confident while being terrified of hearing no. Because if no controls you, you will avoid asking. And if you avoid asking, you will miss opportunities. You won't apply. You won't approach. You won't negotiate. You won't speak. You won't create. You won't take chances. You will build a small, predictable life designed around avoiding discomfort, and you'll call it safety. But sometimes safety is simply fear wearing a respectable outfit. Imagine two people applying for the same opportunity. The first person is terrified of rejection. They look at the requirements and think, I'm probably not good enough, so they don't apply. The second person thinks, I might get rejected, but I'll apply anyway. They apply. Maybe they get rejected, but they gain something the first person didn't. Experience. They learned how to apply. They learned what was required. They learned what they could improve. They learned that rejection didn't kill them, and next time, they apply again. Eventually, they may succeed. This is why you need to stop measuring yourself only by outcomes. Measure yourself by your willingness to participate. Did you ask? Did you try? Did you submit? Did you speak? Did you show up? Did you take the shot? Those actions are within your control. The answer isn't always. And confident people understand that distinction. They focus their energy on what they can control. They don't demand certainty before taking action. They understand that every meaningful opportunity comes with the possibility of rejection, and they accept the possibility. This is a major psychological shift. Instead of thinking, I must succeed, think, I will give myself a chance. That sounds simple, but it's powerful, because now your job isn't to control the outcome. Your job is to show up, and sometimes you will lose. That's part of the game. The person who never gets rejected is often the person who never takes enough risks. If you want an extraordinary life, you must become willing to experience ordinary rejection. There will be closed doors. There will be unanswered messages. There will be opportunities that go to someone else. There will be people who don't choose you. There will be moments when you hear no. Don't let those moments convince you to stop knocking, because one rejection can feel enormous when you're emotionally attached to one particular door. But life has more doors than you can see. Sometimes the door you desperately wanted wasn't the door you needed. Sometimes rejection redirects you. Sometimes it exposes a weakness you needed to improve. Sometimes it protects you from something that looked better than it actually was. And sometimes it's simply rejection. You don't have to turn every painful experience into a beautiful lesson. Sometimes something just didn't work. Accept it. Learn what you can. Move forward. That is strength. Another important lesson is learning not to chase people who have clearly rejected you. This applies to friendships, relationships, opportunities, and business. If someone has clearly communicated that they don't want something, respect the answer. Don't beg. Don't manipulate. Don't repeatedly demand explanations. Don't humiliate yourself trying to change their mind. You can want something deeply and still accept that it's not yours. That is maturity. And there is enormous dignity in being able to say, I wanted it, it didn't happen, I'm disappointed, but I will continue. That's confidence, not pretending you don't care, not pretending rejection doesn't hurt. It can hurt, let it hurt, feel it, learn from it, then move. You don't have to become emotionally numb to become confident. You simply need to stop making pain your permanent residence. Give yourself permission to recover, and don't let rejection turn you into someone who stops trusting people or opportunities. One person rejecting you doesn't mean everyone will. One company rejecting you doesn't mean your career is over. One failed business idea doesn't mean you're incapable of building something. One relationship ending doesn't mean you'll never love again. One mistake doesn't predict every future outcome. Be careful about using the word never. Your current pain doesn't know your future. You do not know what opportunities are coming. You do not know who you will meet. You do not know what skills you'll develop. You do not know how much you'll grow. So don't make permanent conclusions from temporary disappointment. Now here's where rejection becomes a training ground for confidence. Start taking small risks. Ask for something. Pitch an idea. Apply for an opportunity. Start a conversation. Negotiate respectfully. Share your work. Ask a question. And when the answer is no, practice saying, okay. Not, please reconsider. Not, what did I do wrong? Not, I'll prove myself to you. Simply, okay, thank you for letting me know. Then continue living. That response is incredibly powerful because it communicates, your decision affects this situation, but it does not determine my identity. That is emotional freedom, and eventually you may discover something unexpected. The more rejection you survive, the less frightening rejection becomes. The first no might hurt deeply. The 10th no may sting. The 20th may barely slow you down. Not because you become heartless, because you've learned that no is survivable. And once you understand that, your behavior changes. You ask more, you attempt more, you negotiate more, you pursue more, you take more opportunities. And because you're taking more chances, your probability of success increases. Think about it. If you only try once, one rejection can end the entire journey. If you try 20 times, one rejection is simply one result. That's why confident people aren't necessarily people who experience less rejection. They are often people who are willing to experience more of it. They understand that rejection is part of the process. It's the price of participation. And if you refuse to pay that price, you may never enter the game. So stop asking, how can I make sure nobody rejects me? Ask, how can I become someone who can handle rejection? That's the better question, because you cannot control other people's decisions, but you can control your response. You can choose dignity. You can choose growth. You can choose resilience. You can choose to try again. And you can choose not to turn someone else's no into your own no. Because that's what many people do. Someone says no to them, and then they say no to themselves. If they don't want me, I must not be good enough. If I didn't get the job, I must not be capable. If they didn't like my idea, I should stop creating. Don't do that. Never reject yourself simply because someone else did. Let them make their decision. You make yours. And your decision should be, I will keep growing. I will keep learning. I will keep showing up. I will keep becoming. Because one of the most confident things you can say after rejection is not, I'll make you regret rejecting me. It's, I wish you well. I'm moving forward. No revenge, no desperation, no bitterness, just movement. That's what happens when rejection loses its power. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop shrinking, you stop taking every no personally, and you start seeing rejection for what it really is. One piece of information in a much bigger story. Your story. And your story is not over because one door closed. There are more conversations to have, more skills to develop, more opportunities to pursue, more people to meet, more versions of yourself to become. So let rejection teach you without defining you. Let it hurt without destroying you. Let it redirect you without stopping you. And when the next no comes, and it will, take a breath, stand tall, learn what you can, then remind yourself, this is not the end of my story, because confidence isn't believing everyone will choose you. Confidence is knowing that even when someone doesn't choose you, you will still choose yourself. And once you learn that, rejection loses its power. Chapter 8. Build real competence. There is a kind of confidence that disappears the moment someone asks a difficult question. It looks impressive from a distance. The person talks loudly, they act certain, they have an opinion about everything. They want everyone to believe they know what they're doing. But underneath the performance is fear. Fear of being exposed. Fear of looking inexperienced. Fear of admitting, I don't know. This is fake confidence. And if you're building real confidence, you don't want that, because pretending to be capable is exhausting. Real confidence comes from something much stronger. Competence. You know you can do something because you've actually learned how to do it. You have practiced, you have failed, you have corrected yourself, you have improved, you have accumulated experience, and now when the pressure arrives, you have something to stand on. Not just feelings, ability. This is one of the most overlooked secrets of confidence. If you want to feel more confident in a particular area of your life, don't spend all your time trying to convince yourself that you're amazing. Get better. If you're nervous about public speaking, practice speaking. If you're insecure about your career, develop valuable skills. If you're afraid of financial instability, learn how money works and improve your earning ability. If you're uncomfortable in social situations, develop your communication skills. If you want to lead people, learn how to lead. If you want to build something, learn the craft. Competence creates evidence, and evidence creates confidence. Think about a professional athlete. Imagine a basketball player stepping onto the court before a championship game. The crowd is screaming. The pressure is enormous. But that player has practiced the same movements thousands of times. They've trained when nobody was watching. They've studied their opponents. They've made mistakes. They've corrected them. So when the moment arrives, they don't need to tell themselves, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. I'm amazing. They have evidence. Their confidence comes from preparation. That's what you need to build. You don't need to become the best person in the world. You need to become competent enough to trust yourself. And competence is available to almost anyone willing to practice consistently. But there's a problem. Many people want the confidence of mastery without going through the boring process of becoming skilled. They want to feel like an expert before they've done the work of becoming one. They want recognition before competence. They want results without repetition. They want applause before achievement. It doesn't work that way. You cannot skip the reps. You cannot read 10 books about fitness and expect your body to become stronger. You cannot watch hundreds of videos about communication and expect to become an excellent communicator without practicing. You cannot consume endless business content and expect to become an entrepreneur without building something. Information is useful, but information without application becomes entertainment. You need to do the work, and the work will often be boring. That's normal. The beginning of mastery rarely feels glamorous. You'll make mistakes. You'll feel slow. You'll compare yourself to people who have been doing it for years. You'll wonder if you're talented enough. You may even feel embarrassed by how much you don't know. Stay, because that's where competence is built. There is a powerful confidence that comes from being willing to be a beginner. A beginner can say, I don't know. Teach me. I made a mistake. Let me try again. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you teachable. And teachability accelerates growth. Insecure people often pretend to know everything because they are afraid of looking ignorant. Confident people can admit what they don't know because they aren't terrified of appearing imperfect. They understand not knowing something is temporary. Refusing to learn keeps it permanent. So don't be ashamed of being inexperienced. Be ashamed of refusing to improve. If you don't know how to do something, learn. If you're bad at something, practice. If you don't understand, ask. If you fail, analyze. If someone is better than you, study them. Turn your insecurity into a curriculum. That's a powerful mindset. Instead of saying, I'm terrible at this, say, this is a skill I haven't developed yet. Now you have a problem you can work on. And once you start approaching your weaknesses as skills rather than identities, your confidence changes. You stop seeing yourself as fixed. You become a work in progress, and that's liberating. But competence isn't only about technical skills. It's also about becoming competent at handling yourself. Can you regulate your emotions? Can you communicate under pressure? Can you make decisions when you're uncertain? Can you handle criticism? Can you manage your time? Can you keep commitments? Can you solve problems? Can you recover after failure? Can you remain respectful when you're angry? Can you say no? These are forms of competence too. And the more capable you become at handling life, the more confident you become. This is why confidence and discipline are closely connected. If you constantly do whatever you feel like doing, you may become highly dependent on motivation. But if you train yourself to do what matters even when you don't feel like it, you become more reliable. And reliability creates confidence. You begin thinking, I can trust myself under pressure. That's powerful. Another mistake people make is trying to become competent at everything at once. You don't need to. Choose areas that matter. Ask yourself, what skills would dramatically improve my life if I became good at them? Maybe communication, maybe writing, maybe sales, maybe leadership, maybe technology, maybe financial literacy, maybe emotional intelligence, maybe fitness, maybe public speaking. Choose, then practice, deeply, consistently. Give yourself enough time to become good, because modern culture makes people impatient. You see someone's finished result and compare it to your beginning. You see the successful business, but not the years of failed attempts. You see the confident speaker, but not the hundreds of awkward presentations. You see the skilled creator, but not the thousands of hours of practice. You see the polished professional, but not the years they spent being inexperienced. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You are allowed to be a beginner. Your responsibility is simply to keep learning. And here's where real confidence becomes different from arrogance. Arrogance says, I already know everything. Confidence says, I can learn what I don't know. Arrogance says, I don't need advice. Confidence says, I'll listen and decide what applies. Arrogance hides mistakes. Confidence examines them. Arrogance needs to look powerful. Confidence wants to become capable. That's why the strongest confident people are often surprisingly humble. They don't need to pretend. Their ability speaks for itself. And you can build that kind of confidence. Start with one area. Pick a skill, then create a practice system. Don't say, I want to become better at communication. That's vague. Say, for the next 30 days, I will practice speaking for 10 minutes every day. Now you have something measurable. Don't say, I want to become financially successful. Learn a specific financial skill. Track your spending. Learn how to budget. Study investing responsibly. Develop a marketable skill. Increase your earning ability. Take action. Don't say, I want to become more confident socially. Start conversations. Listen better. Ask questions. Attend events. Practice eye contact. Learn to tolerate awkward moments. Your confidence will follow your competence. And here's something beautiful. You don't have to wait until you're excellent to become more confident. Every improvement counts. You become slightly better, then slightly better again. And eventually the distance between who you were and who you are becomes enormous. That's how quiet confidence is built, not through one dramatic transformation, through thousands of small improvements. And eventually someone may ask, "How are you so confident?" And you may not even know how to explain it. Because it isn't one thing, it's the accumulated evidence of years of practice. You know you can figure things out. You know you can learn. You know you can adapt. You know you can recover. You know you can improve. And that belief is incredibly difficult to shake. So if you are currently insecure about something, don't spend all your energy trying to eliminate the insecurity. Ask, what skill would make me more capable here? Then build it. If you're afraid of interviews, practice interviews. If you're nervous about presentations, practice presentations. If you're insecure about your work, improve your work. If you're uncomfortable with money, learn about money. If you're struggling with communication, study communication and practice it. Turn fear into preparation. Turn insecurity into skill development. Turn weakness into training. Because the fastest way to become more confident in an area isn't always to tell yourself you're already great. Sometimes it's to become genuinely good. And there is something deeply satisfying about knowing, I earned this confidence. Nobody gave it to you. Nobody can take it away with one criticism. You built it. You practiced for it. You struggled for it. You earned it. And because you earned it, you don't need to constantly announce it. You can simply use it. Walk into the room prepared. Speak when you have something valuable to say. Admit when you don't know. Ask intelligent questions. Do the work. Keep improving. And let your competence speak. Because when your confidence is built on competence, you don't need to dominate the room. You don't need to prove you're the smartest person there. You don't need to exaggerate your accomplishments. You don't need to pretend you're perfect. You can simply be present, calm, prepared, capable, and grounded. That is real confidence. So remember this, confidence without competence is fragile, but competence creates something much stronger. It creates self-trust. Self-trust creates calm. Calm creates presence. And presence creates the kind of confidence that doesn't need to shout. So stop asking, how can I convince myself that I'm good enough? Start asking, what can I become good at? Then learn, practice, fail, improve, repeat. And one day you won't have to convince yourself that you can handle the challenge. You'll know, because you've done the work. And when you know you've done the work, you walk differently. Chapter 9. Stop explaining yourself. Have you ever made a decision and immediately felt the need to explain it? You said no. Then you wrote a paragraph explaining why. You changed your mind. Then you felt obligated to justify yourself. You chose a different career. Then you tried to convince everyone that your decision made sense. Someone misunderstood you, and suddenly you found yourself desperately trying to prove your intentions. Why? Because somewhere inside you believe that if people don't understand your decision must be wrong. But confident people learn a powerful lesson. You are allowed to make decisions that other people don't understand. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to have boundaries. And you don't need to submit every decision you make for public approval. This doesn't mean becoming rude. It doesn't mean refusing to communicate. It doesn't mean ignoring legitimate responsibilities. It means understanding the difference between explaining yourself and defending your existence. There are times when an explanation is appropriate. If you've made a commitment and need to change it, communicate. If you've hurt someone, take responsibility. If you're working with a team, communicate clearly. If your actions affect someone else, don't hide behind, I don't owe anyone an explanation. Maturity requires communication. But there is another kind of explanation, the desperate kind. The kind where you keep talking because you're afraid the other person won't approve. You explain. They disagree. You explain more. They still disagree. You give another reason. They challenge that reason. Now you're defending yourself like you're in court, and suddenly a simple decision has become a negotiation. You don't need to live like that. Sometimes the strongest response is simply, "That's what I've decided." Not aggressively, not arrogantly, calmly, because confidence doesn't always need more words. Sometimes confidence is silence. Think about how insecurity behaves. It seeks permission. It overexplains. It apologizes excessively. It tries to control perception. It becomes defensive. It panics when someone disagrees. Confidence behaves differently. It listens, it considers, it decides, then it moves. This is especially important when it comes to boundaries. A boundary is not a threat. A boundary is not, "You better do what I want." A boundary is, "If this continues, here's what I will do to protect myself." That's a completely different mindset. You can't control another person's behavior, but you can control your participation. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, you can reduce access. If someone constantly interrupts your work, you can establish limits. If someone asks for something you cannot give, you can say no. If a situation repeatedly violates your values, you can leave. You don't need to convince the other person that your boundary is valid. You simply need to enforce it consistently. And this is where many people fail. They announce boundaries they don't enforce. "If you do that again, I'm done." The person does it again. They stay. Then it happens again. They stay. Eventually, the boundary becomes meaningless, not only to the other person, but to you. You teach yourself, "My standards disappear when someone pushes hard enough." That's not self-respect. A boundary without action is only a preference. If you want people to respect your boundaries, start by respecting them yourself. Now let's talk about saying no. For many people, the word no creates enormous anxiety. They think, what if they get angry? What if they think I'm selfish? What if they stop liking me? What if they misunderstand? Remember the previous chapter. You cannot build confidence while needing universal approval. Sometimes saying no will disappoint someone. That's okay. Disappointment is not abuse. Disagreement is not rejection. Someone being unhappy with your boundary does not automatically mean your boundary is wrong. You can be kind and still say no. Try, "I appreciate you asking, but I can't commit to that. I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me. No, thank you." Notice something. None of those sentences require a 10-minute explanation. Sometimes that's enough. And when someone keeps pushing, you don't need to invent a new argument every time. You can calmly repeat yourself. "I understand, but my answer is still no." That's confidence. It's called being a broken record. Not because you're rude, but because you don't allow pressure to turn a clear decision into an endless debate. But there's an even deeper lesson here. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Some people don't actually want clarification. They want control. You can give them the perfect explanation, and they'll find another reason to argue. You can prove your intentions, and they'll question your motives. You can answer every accusation, and they'll create another one. At some point, continuing the conversation gives a situation more power than it deserves. You have to know when to disengage. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves a defense. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every person deserves access to your emotional energy. That is quiet confidence. You begin choosing your battles. You stop trying to win every conversation. You stop needing the final word. You stop trying to prove that you're right to people who don't matter to your future. And something beautiful happens. You become calmer. Your words become more intentional. Your presence becomes stronger. People notice, not because you're trying to look powerful, but because you're no longer desperate to be perceived as powerful. There is a difference. The insecure person enters a room thinking, "How am I being perceived?" The confident person enters thinking, "What am I here to do?" That's presence. Your attention moves away from yourself and toward the moment. You're not constantly monitoring your face, your voice, your posture, your clothes, your impression, your status. You're simply participating. And that is incredibly attractive. People who are comfortable with themselves create space for others to be comfortable too. They don't need to dominate. They don't need to compete. They don't need to constantly prove themselves. They can listen. They can laugh at themselves. They can admit mistakes. They can say, I don't know. They can leave a conversation without needing everyone to agree with them. That's strength. Now consider how much energy you waste trying to control what people think about you. You post something online, then you check the reactions, you say something, then you replay it in your head, you leave a room. Then you wonder whether people were judging you. You make a decision, then you ask 5 people if they think it was right. You live like you're constantly being watched. But here's the truth. Most people are thinking about themselves. They're worried about their own lives, their own problems, their own insecurities, their own responsibilities. You may be spending hours worrying about an embarrassing moment that another person forgot 10 minutes later. Free yourself. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be present. And when you make a mistake, own it. Sometimes the most confident response is, yeah, that was my mistake. No excuses, no elaborate defense, no blaming, just ownership. Then move forward. Confidence isn't about never making mistakes. It's about not being terrified of admitting them. And there's another form of quiet confidence that deserves attention. Being comfortable with silence. Insecure people often feel the need to fill every silence. They talk too much. They reveal too much. They explain too much. They negotiate against themselves. Confident people aren't afraid of pauses. They can think before answering. They can listen. They can let someone else speak. They don't need to rush to prove their intelligence. They understand that silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is discipline. But don't confuse quiet confidence with passivity. Being confident doesn't mean becoming silent all the time. Speak when you need to speak. Stand up when you need to stand up. Challenge what needs to be challenged. Ask for what you need. Defend what matters. The goal isn't to become invisible. The goal is to become intentional. Your words should come from choice rather than anxiety. Your yes should mean yes. Your no should mean no. Your apology should mean something. Your boundaries should have consequences. Your silence should be peaceful, not fearful. And your presence should communicate, I am comfortable being myself. That's powerful. So here's your challenge. The next time you feel the urge to over-explain, pause. Ask, am I communicating because it's necessary, or am I explaining because I'm afraid they won't approve? If communication is necessary, communicate clearly. If you're simply seeking approval, stop. The next time you want to say yes when you mean no, pause. Ask, what would I choose if I wasn't afraid of disappointing them? Then answer honestly. The next time someone disagrees with you, listen. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. Either way, you don't have to panic. And the next time someone misunderstands you, remember, you cannot control every interpretation of you. Your responsibility is to live with integrity. Let your actions speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your character speak. You don't need to chase every rumor. You don't need to correct every opinion. You don't need to convince everyone. Some people will understand you, some won't. Some will support you, some won't. Some will celebrate your growth. Some will resent it. That's life. Your job isn't to control the audience. Your job is to play your role well. And once you understand that, you become much harder to manipulate, because manipulation often works through guilt. If you love me, you would, through pressure, everyone else is doing it. Through fear. What will people think? Through shame. You're being selfish. But a grounded person can pause and ask, is this actually wrong? Or am I simply uncomfortable with disappointing someone? That question can save you from years of unnecessary compromise. Remember, you can be kind without being controllable. You can be generous without being available to everyone. You can be humble without thinking less of yourself. You can listen without surrendering your judgment. You can apologize without abandoning your boundaries. And you can love people without living your entire life for their approval. That's quiet confidence. It doesn't need to shout, "Look at me." It simply says, "I know who I am." And when you know who you are, you don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You communicate when necessary. You apologize when you're wrong. You listen when you need to learn. You walk away when you need to protect your peace. And you continue forward. No drama, no performance, no begging to be understood. Just clarity, just self-respect, just confidence. Because the moment you stop needing to convince everyone that your choices are valid, you finally become free to make better choices. Chapter 10. Become unshakable. There will come a day when you realize something important. Confidence was never supposed to be a temporary feeling. It was never supposed to depend on how many people admired you. It was never supposed to disappear the moment someone criticized you. And it was never supposed to require you to walk into every room believing you were better than everyone else. Real confidence is much deeper. It is the quiet certainty that says, whatever happens, I will find a way forward. That is what it means to become unshakable. Being unshakable does not mean life can never hurt you. It does not mean you won't cry. You won't get disappointed. You won't fail. You won't experience rejection. You won't have bad days. You will. You are human. Being unshakable means something different. It means that when life knocks you down, you don't make the ground your permanent home. You get back up, you learn, you adapt, you continue. And that ability is more valuable than pretending nothing can hurt you. Think about everything you've learned throughout this journey. You learn that confidence begins with a decision. You learn that confidence is created through action. You learn that you cannot build a powerful life while depending on everyone's approval. You learn that keeping promises to yourself builds self-respect. You learn to face fear instead of allowing it to make your decisions. You learn to master your inner voice. You learn that rejection is an event, not an identity. You learn that competence creates genuine confidence. And you learn that you don't have to explain yourself to everyone. Now all of those lessons come together because confidence is not one habit. It's a way of living. It's how you respond when things don't go according to plan. It's how you talk to yourself after failure. It's how you behave when nobody's watching. It's how you handle criticism. It's how you treat people when you have power. It's how you respond when you don't get what you want. And perhaps most importantly, it's how you choose yourself without becoming selfish. An unshakable person doesn't need life to be perfect. They need to know they can handle imperfection. That's the difference. Fragile confidence says, everything has to go right for me to feel okay. Unshakable confidence says, things can go wrong and I'll still be okay. That mindset changes everything. Imagine losing an opportunity instead of, my life is over. You think, that hurt. What can I learn? Imagine someone rejecting you instead of, I'm not good enough. You think, it wasn't the right fit. I'll keep moving. Imagine making a mistake instead of, I'm a failure. You think, I made a mistake. Let's fix it. Imagine someone criticizing you. Instead of immediately becoming defensive, you ask, is there something useful here? If yes, learn. If no, let it go. That's emotional strength, and emotional strength is a major part of confidence. You cannot control everything that happens to you. You can control what you do next. That is your power. Life will sometimes be unfair. People will sometimes disappoint you. Plans will sometimes fail. People you trusted may change. Things you worked hard for may disappear. You may lose money. You may lose opportunities. You may lose relationships. And there will be moments when you genuinely don't know what comes next. That's okay. You don't need to have every answer immediately. You need to trust your ability to find the next step. Sometimes confidence is simply saying, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'll figure it out. That sentence contains enormous strength because it replaces panic with possibility, and that mindset must become part of your identity. You are not trying to build a life where nothing goes wrong. You're building yourself into someone who can handle what goes wrong. That's why every difficult experience can become training. A difficult conversation can teach communication. A rejection can teach resilience. A failure can teach strategy. A mistake can teach humility. A difficult season can teach patience. A boundary can teach self-respect. A lonely period can teach independence. A setback can reveal what you're really made of. You don't have to enjoy these experiences. You simply have to refuse to waste them. And there is another important part of becoming unshakable. Stop negotiating with your old identity. Maybe you've spent years saying, I'm shy. I'm inconsistent. I'm bad with money. I'm not a leader. I'm not confident. I'm just not that kind of person. Be careful. Sometimes a description becomes a prison. You repeat it so often that you stop questioning it. But identity is not a life sentence. People change. You can become more disciplined, more social, more capable, more courageous, more organized, more skilled, more emotionally mature, more confident. You are not required to remain loyal to an old version of yourself simply because you've been that person for a long time. You can change your patterns. And when you do, some people may be confused. They may say, you've changed. Maybe you have. And that's not automatically a bad thing. Growth often looks like change to people who were comfortable with your old behavior. Don't go back simply because someone preferred the version of you that was easier to control. But remember, becoming unshakable doesn't mean becoming hard-hearted. Don't confuse confidence with arrogance. Don't confuse boundaries with cruelty. Don't confuse independence with isolation. Don't confuse strength with refusing help. A truly confident person can say, I need help. They can apologize. They can listen. They can admit fear. They can ask questions. They can change their mind. They can admit when someone else is better at something. You are not trying to build a life where nothing goes wrong. You're building yourself into someone who can handle what goes wrong. That's why every difficult experience can become training. A difficult conversation can teach communication. A rejection can teach resilience. A failure can teach strategy. A mistake can teach humility. A difficult season can teach patience. A boundary can teach self-respect. A lonely period can teach independence. A setback can reveal what you're really made of. You don't have to enjoy these experiences. You simply have to refuse to waste them. And there is another important part of becoming unshakable. Stop negotiating with your old identity. Maybe you've spent years saying, I'm shy. I'm inconsistent. I'm bad with money. I'm not a leader. I'm not confident. I'm just not that kind of person. Be careful. Sometimes a description becomes a prison. You repeat it so often that you stop questioning it. But identity is not a life sentence. People change. You can become more disciplined, more social, more capable, more courageous, more organized, more skilled, more emotionally mature, more confident. You are not required to remain loyal to an old version of yourself simply because you've been that person for a long time. You can change your patterns. And when you do, some people may be confused. They may say, "You've changed." Maybe you have. And that's not automatically a bad thing. Growth often looks like change to people who were comfortable with your old behavior. Don't go back simply because someone preferred the version of you that was easier to control. But remember, becoming unshakable doesn't mean becoming hard-hearted. Don't confuse confidence with arrogance. Don't confuse boundaries with cruelty. Don't confuse independence with isolation. Don't confuse strength with refusing help. A truly confident person can say, "I need help." They can apologize. They can listen. They can admit fear. They can ask questions. They can change their mind. They can admit when someone else is better at something. So before you close this audiobook, remember this. Confidence is not something you wait to feel. It is something you build. You build it every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every time you say no when you mean no. Every time you take action while you're afraid. Every time you survive rejection without rejecting yourself. Every time you choose growth over comfort. Every time you stop asking the world for permission to become who you were meant to be. The world doesn't need another person pretending to be confident. It needs a stronger version of you. A version that walks into the room without begging to be noticed. A version that can stand alone without feeling abandoned. A version that can hear criticism without collapsing. A version that can experience failure without calling itself a failure. A version that can be rejected without losing its identity. A version that doesn't need everyone to understand them before they move forward. And that person isn't somewhere far away. That person is being built by the decisions you make today. So don't just finish this audiobook. Use it. Take one lesson. Apply it. Then another. And another. Because knowledge that doesn't change your behavior is just information. Turn these words into action. Keep your promises. Face your fears. Build your skills. Protect your peace. Stop chasing approval. And most importantly, never abandon yourself again. Because when you finally trust yourself, something changes. You stop asking, "Am I good enough?" And you start asking, "What's next?" You stop asking, "What will they think?" And you start asking, "What do I believe?" You stop asking, "What if I fail?" And you start saying, "I'll figure it out." That is confidence. That is freedom. That is the person you are becoming. A message from Mighty Library. If this audiobook gave you a new perspective, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear these words. And if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe to Mighty Library and turn on notifications. Because here at Mighty Library, we don't just consume ideas, we use knowledge to rebuild ourselves. Every audiobook, every lesson, every powerful idea is another tool for becoming wiser, stronger, more disciplined, and more intentional. So subscribe, stay with us, and make Mighty Library part of your journey of becoming. And before you leave, I want you to do one thing. Comment this below. "I will never abandon myself again." Not because it's just a comment, but because it's a decision. Your decision, your commitment, your new beginning. And remember, you don't need everyone's approval. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to be perfect. You simply need to keep moving, keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming. This is Mighty Library, where powerful ideas become powerful lives. Until the next audiobook, keep your mind strong, keep your standards high, keep your promises, and never stop becoming. Mighty Library, read, reflect, rise.